Have you ever shared a great idea with someone only to be met with instant resistance? You might be dealing with a contrarian. Last night, I came across this on TikTok and I had to share it.
Welcome to the What's Eating You podcast. I'm your host, Stephanie Giorgio, and I'm a clinical psychologist.
Hello, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you're joining in the world. Last night, I was scrolling on TikTok and I came across the term contrarian. And I instantly knew what it was when I heard about it, but I never knew that this was a thing. So I had to share it with you because you might be a contrarian without even realizing it. All right. Now, what is a contrarian? Now, these are people who seem to be wired to say no, they question the status quo, or play devil's advocate. And we're going to talk about in this episode how to manage these dynamics in relationships, workplaces, or even within yourself. And I'll give you a few examples, okay? So, say you got into work and you talk to someone and they're like, "Oh, how was your weekend?" "Yeah, the weekend was nice." And you might say, "Oh, yeah, it was a beautiful day on Sunday." And instantly they'll say, "Oh, well, actually, it wasn't really that nice. It was quite cold." And you're like, Okay, I'm just trying to make conversation type of vibe. Or perhaps you might say to them, "Oh, did you catch that movie on Netflix that's been going around? It's really interesting and I really am enjoying it." And they might say, Not necessarily. I don't really watch Netflix." But it's with every single thing you say to these people. So a contrarian is someone who instinctively or habitually opposes or rejects popular opinion or commonly held beliefs, not just out of principle, but as a default cognitive stance. Now, this is not the same as someone who thinks critically or independently. Contrarianism involves automatic opposition even when evidence supports the opposing view. Now, how do you know when a contrarian is in your vicinity? The common phrases include, "I just don't think that's true." Actually, not necessarily. For example, you suggest eating at a new place, and your partner or your friend or your colleague immediately says, "That place is overrated." And remember, this happens often with everyone. It's not just a random thing. It's every time you try to speak to these people, they're always trying to sort of disagree with what you're saying or like contrarian. I think it comes from being on the contrary. And I thought I'd look into whether there are some psychological reasons for this. Now, if you're a contrarian, don't worry. We're going to talk about this and give you some strategies. So if you are, let's own it. If you're one of these people who's always like, "Well, no," or "Well, actually," and you're always sort of going against what people say, I want you to ask yourself, number one, are you aware of this? Are you aware that you're actually doing it? I'm really curious to know if you're a contrarian and this is the first time you're hearing about this, or you're like, "Oh my God, I think I do that." Message me on Instagram. I would actually love to know where this comes from because I was aware of this, but I wasn't aware of it as well. I didn't know that it had a name and I was aware of it. And to be honest, I don't really talk to a lot of people in my life, but I think definitely when I used to work in an office, when I was in more contact with a lot of people, I definitely think this is something I would have come up against. So, why are people contrarian? Where does this come from? Number one is personality traits. According to the five-factor model, people high in openness and low in agreeableness are more likely to take contrarian positions. So, for anyone wondering, the five-factor model of personality suggests that we've got five traits when it comes to our personality, and it stands for the word ocean. So, we've got openness to experience, which is the O, C, which is conscientiousness, E, which is extroversion, A, which is agreeableness, and N, which is neuroticism. Gosh, how did I even remember that off the top of my head? That's taking me back to second year psych. Basically, what personality theory is saying that people who are contrarian have high openness, which is curiosity and novel seeking, but they have low agreeableness, which means they're more likely to challenge others and they're less concerned with harmony. So people who are agreeable, easier to get along with, they tend to be easy to talk to, but you can be too agreeable. If you're very, very agreeable, you might lack boundaries. Ever feel like you're stuck in a cycle of chaos and overwhelm? You start something, get distracted, and then forget what you're even doing. And at the end of the day, you're completely drained. You're not broken. Your brain just needs a different strategy. That's why I created ADHD Journey, an online course and community designed to help you actually follow through and thrive with the brain you have. Each week, you get a short, structured video, practical tools, and a monthly group call with me. Use the code ADHD VIP to get 50% off your first month. The link is below. Now, the second reason people might be contrarians is they have this psychological reactance. Don't tell me what to do. Reactance is a well-documented psychological phenomenon. When people feel their freedom is being threatened, they're likely to do the opposite of what's suggested, even if it's good for them. Okay, interesting. Brehm, 1966, introduced the theory of reactance. When perceived freedom is reduced, motivation increases to restore it. Now, I can think of an example, and I think this can happen with a lot of mother-daughter dynamics where your mum might be suggesting something that she thinks is really good for you, but you rebel against your mum, even though you know your mum's right and she's telling the truth, but you rebel because you think that your freedom is going to be taken away. So, for example, your mum might make a suggestion like, oh, why don't you wear something different today? It's going to be cold outside. And you just think, oh, she's always telling me what to wear. She thinks I look ugly, I look fat, whatever. And then you don't listen to her and then you end up being cold and she was right. The third reason people might be contrarians is an insecure attachment or control issues. People with an anxious or avoidant attachment style might reject ideas to maintain emotional or intellectual control. So, saying no is a way to feel safe or in control, but it may also help some individuals mask underlying vulnerability. So, we know that attachment styles are your attachment you develop when you're young, and it relates back to your caregiver. So, if your caregiver or your parent met your needs, when you cried, they comforted you. When you were hungry, they fed you. When you were scared, they hugged you. Then you're likely to have a secure attachment. If your parents had their own mental health issues, they struggled with their own emotion regulation, they didn't meet your needs in a consistent way, then you're likely to have an anxious or even an avoidant attachment style. So, people with an anxious attachment style, they're fearful of losing people, whereas people with an avoidant attachment style really value hyper independence. I don't need anybody. People who need people are weak, they're clingy, that type of vibe. So that's really interesting that it can be linked to attachment. But I'd really love to know if you're one of these people, are you aware of it that you do it? And number two, why do you do it? Number four could be learned behavior and schema modes. Some contrarians may have grown up in an invalidating environment where being right equaled being safe or respected. In schema therapy, which I've been talking about a little bit lately, this can reflect a detached protector mode or an overcompensator mode, which prioritizes cognitive control and avoids vulnerability. So perhaps by being contrarian, you're kind of shutting down the conversation because if someone's trying to talk with you and connect with you and you're always like, nah, oh, I don't agree, it's kind of like pushes people away because they're like, oh, why bother? Why bother with that? Number five could be social identity and ego. Some individuals derive their self-worth from not being like everyone else. If everyone thinks it, it must be wrong. This can reinforce ego, intellect, or uniqueness. Now, look, being a contrarian isn't all doom and gloom. It can be useful. So if this is you, don't worry. It's not all bad.
Do you eat a large amount of food in a short period of time and feel a loss of control? Maybe you make yourself sick after you binge eat. If this is you, you're not alone. I'm a clinical psychologist who went through a 9-year eating disorder, and I know how to get to the other side of food freedom. If you're ready to ditch the dieting mentality, discover food freedom, and find confidence in yourself and your body, Click the free eating evaluation call. The link is below.
Contrarians challenge groupthink. The Ash conformity experiments, okay, that's taking us way back. So basically, when everyone in a group starts to think the same, they might challenge that. Contrarians can drive innovation and protect against blind spots, and they can help clarify issues through rigorous debate. But chronic contrarianism can damage relationships, teamwork, and even a person's self-esteem if it leads to isolation. Now, here are some strategies. If you're dealing with a contrarian, here are 5 tips to help you through it. Because you might have these people at work and you have no choice but to be in their vicinity and to talk to them. Number 1 is don't argue, ask. Instead of trying to prove your point, ask them, what's your concern about this idea? What's a better way you'd approach it? You're inviting collaboration, not competition. And I really love that. I just love the word ask. Ask, don't accuse. Ask, don't argue. Asking can be such a great tool when you're tempted to go all in and have a go at someone. 2 is validate autonomy. So use autonomy supportive language. You're free to choose, but here's what I noticed. This lowers defensiveness and reduces reluctance, and you're able to have your say. So you're validating that they're free to choose their choice, but you're also sharing what you would like to say. 3, choose timing. Contrarians are more open after they've had time to think. Don't expect instant buy-in, let ideas breathe. Number 4 is offer options, not directives. Instead of you need to do this, try would you prefer X or Z? This reframes the conversation and gives control. Number 5 is protect your energy. If the contrarian relationship is toxic, consider boundaries or limiting debates. You're not required to engage in every time. Let them think that the weather's never good. Now, if you are the contrarian, don't worry. I'm going to give you some strategies here. Self-awareness is the key, and the fact you're listening to this podcast episode already says a lot about you. So number 1 is ask. Is this about the idea or the person? Sometimes we oppose who says something, not what they say. So when you've got the urge to be a contrarian, when you've got the urge to be like, not really, or shut people down, is it the person or is it what they're saying? Number 2, pause before reacting. Use the stop technique. Stop, take a breath, observe your urge to be contrarian, and proceed with intention. Remember, contrarianism is often reactive. By stopping and taking a breath and observing, this helps build the space to choose curiosity instead. Number 3 is reflect on underlying needs. Are you trying to feel smart? Are you afraid of being influenced? Are you seeking control? Journal about it and write it down. Now, number 4 is I want you to practice. I want you to practice saying yes and. So maybe you can say yes and here's another idea. This keeps the conversation flowing without shutting others down. So here's your well-being tip of the week. For one day, intentionally agree or support others' suggestions. This is if you're a contrarian, you're going to do a contrarian cleanse. Notice how it feels. Does your nervous system calm down? Or does it spark anxiety? This mini experiment can increase awareness of your default mode and create flexibility. Now remember, contrarians aren't bad people. In fact, sometimes they save us from bad ideas. But chronic contrarianism can limit connection, flexibility, and growth. Whether you're navigating this dynamic with others or noticing it in yourself, today's episode hopefully gave you insight, compassion, and some strategies moving forward. If you enjoyed today's episode and found it interesting, please make sure you let me know, take a screenshot, tag me on Instagram, and I'll see you next time.
Did you know by taking 2 seconds to leave a rating or a review, you help me get the podcast out to more listeners just like you who could really benefit from the information? I appreciate all your support and thank you for tuning in.